When I first start working with a client, one of the questions that I always ask them early on is to tell me a little bit about their self-care practices and what kinds of things they're doing to take care of themselves. Usually the answer is nothing. I don't do self-care. And that always raises a lot of red flags for me. Now, sometimes what I find is that they actually are, they just have way too narrow of a view of what self-care is. I know for me personally, just a few years ago, whenever I thought about self-care, I thought that self-care was getting a massage, getting a pedicure, or taking a bubble bath. That was it. Like, that was what I thought self-care was. And so if I didn't have the time or money for those things, in my mind, I thought that meant I couldn't do self-care. Self-care refers to anything that we're doing to take care of ourselves. To take care of ourselves physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually and relationally in terms of our vocation or job. Anything that you can do for yourself that contributes to your overall well-being is self-care. So when I explain that to women, they sort of understand, but they still come back with two main arguments. The first one is that they don't have enough time. The second is that deep down, even if they did have time, they feel like self-care is selfish. A lot of times this is, especially for moms, that they feel like if they were to take time to do something for themselves, it would be taking away from their family. Or there's simply so much on their plate that they don't feel like there's any time to make that happen. So, first of all, I want to say self-care is not selfish. It is absolutely vital. As moms, as wives, we have so much going on, and if we don't take care of ourselves, we don't have anything to give back to our family. And as a friend of mine says, if I go down, the whole ship goes down. So mostly, I think this has to do with what we believe about self-care and whether we believe it's something that we deserve and something that's important. But even then, there is a practical thing to this. I know that time is short. So what I want to present to you today is that you can do self-care without actually taking any extra time. A huge part of how this works is simply choosing to do the things that you're already doing in a different way. To do them in a way that is loving towards yourself. It won't always be external. Honestly, a lot of it has to do with the thoughts we're thinking while we're doing what we're already doing. So let me give some examples of this. One way that you can care for yourself in terms of your emotions and your physical body is to breathe. Taking full breaths reduces stress and it gives your body the oxygen that it needs. So it's literally an act of self-care to make sure that you're breathing. But this doesn't have to take any extra time. I often make a conscious choice to breathe and do breathing exercises while I'm driving in the car or while I'm making dinner or while I'm doing any other thing throughout the day. So you can do this without any extra time. Another thing that you can do as an act of self-care, especially for your emotions, is to smile. This doesn't have to be a separate event. You don't even have to feel particularly happy to do it. But if you just pull up the corners of your mouth, it actually will tell your brain that you are happy and the rest of you will start to get on board. And you can do this at any time throughout your day just to choose to smile. Another thing that you can do while you're doing something else is choose to think about some things you're grateful for. A lot of times I will choose to pair gratitude with something I'm already doing. I like making my coffee. I know that whenever I pour my water, I've got 3 minutes until it's gonna be ready. It's not enough time to really leave and do something else. I usually stay in my kitchen so it doesn't overbrew. And I sometimes just use those 3 minutes to think about the things that I'm grateful for. You can too, and it doesn't have to take away from your day. For my physical body, things like washing my hair or washing my face or maybe putting on lotion or shaving my legs, whatever that looks like. There are things that we do every day to care for our body. One, I would love for you to recognize that in many ways is self-care. Practicing good hygiene, that is self-care. Like if you have any sort of beauty routine, that's self-care in and of itself. But you guys can take this to a whole new level if while you're doing that, you will make a choice to think loving thoughts about your body. While you're putting lotion on your legs, choose to take a minute to be appreciative that you have legs that work. Don't focus on what they look like or if they're the size that you want them to be, but find a way to appreciate your body and think some loving thoughts while you're doing what you're already doing. Now, some other things that I do that are great ways to show self-care for ourselves, especially in a mental way, just has to do with how we talk to ourselves. One of the things that I have started to try to get into a habit of doing is showing some appreciation for myself throughout the day when I do a good job. If there's something that I wanted to accomplish and I did, even if it's something very small, I try to take just a few seconds, and instead of just jumping to the next thing that needs to happen or criticizing myself for how I didn't do it perfect, I just take a minute to tell myself I did a good job and I'm proud of myself for getting that thing done. Especially if it's something I don't really want to do. I don't love doing laundry or doing dishes, so when I do those things, I say, good job, you did that thing. Another thing that I do to care for myself throughout the day that doesn't take time is to stop occasionally and check in with my emotions. It's really easy to just barrel through the day and not have any idea of what we're feeling or why we're feeling it. This doesn't have to take extra time though. While I'm doing something else, rather than letting my brain replay something that happened in the past or worry about something that's in the future, I try to just take a moment, be in the moment, and ask myself, how are you feeling? How are you doing right now? I don't need to change it, I don't need to judge it. But simply by having that information, it can help me make choices throughout the day. If I find that I'm stressed, all I do is take a breath, acknowledge that I'm feeling a little stressed, and let myself know that that's okay. And the last thing that I want to present to you guys that doesn't take any extra time is that the next time you go grab something to drink, make it water. If you're not already drinking at least half your body weight in water, grab water. You're gonna grab something. We're all gonna grab something throughout the day because we do get thirsty, but water is what your body needs. It's gonna help it function properly. If at any point during the day, I'm starting to feel a little tired, the very first thing I do is go get a glass, fill it all the way up, and drink 16 ounces of water. Something you would already do anyway, just make it water as an act of self-care. All right, guys, I hope that some of these were helpful, and hopefully you will come up with all kinds of ideas on your own that I didn't even mention here. But the main point I want to present is that self-care doesn't have to take extra time. In so many ways, self-care isn't about just what we're doing, but it's about why we're doing what we're doing and how we're doing what we're doing and the kinds of thoughts we're thinking why we're doing it. So this week, manage your thoughts and choose to live your life as an act of love towards yourself.